welcome into Texans today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and we have some major developments for Texans Chargers this Saturday. The injury reports are out, and some very surprising ones for your Houston Texans. We'll get into all that today on this episode. But before we get going on all the latest injury news, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button down below as well. We will be live this Saturday, Texans up against the Chargers. About 45 minutes before kickoff, we're also giving away an autographed Andre Johnson jersey on Saturday, so you don't want to miss out. Make sure you're there as we are rooting on the Houston Texans. They have a chance to clinch a playoff spot with a win over the Chargers. All right, the big news coming in today, the injury reports are out for the Houston Texans, and two players ruled out. Trent Brown at right tackle, and then the other player ruled out would be Jamal Hill at linebacker. But you notice I didn't only said those two names, right? Only two guys who were ruled out for Saturday. Aireontae Ersery, the rookie left tackle, who many believe might be out this week. He, broke a, the thumb bone, I guess, in his hand. He broke his thumb, had surgery on that to replace it, and reports are he's going to try to give it a go and play on Saturday with a club up against the LA Chargers. This dude, tough as nails, broken thumb, broken hand, up against the Raiders, surgery this week, and he's going to try to give it a go as the Texans, like I said, try to clinch that playoff spot up against the Chargers. And this makes things interesting because Trent Brown out at right tackle, that means there's a big decision. If both tackles were out, then I think that made it a little bit more clear that Tytus Howard would move out to right tackle, Blake Fisher at left tackle. Now that it looks like it's only going to be the right tackle spot, the Texans could do one of two things. They could just insert Blake Fisher there at the right tackle spot. Easy, the rest of the offensive line, no movement, right? Or they could move Tytus Howard back out to right tackle and put either Juice Scruggs or Jarrett Patterson in at left guard. I'm really interested to see what DeMeco Ryans, what this coaching staff decides to do on the offensive side of the football because, second-year man Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame, he was a second-round pick. Had a lot of, high expectations, didn't necessarily meet that, right? He hasn't been the starter this year. They decided to start Trent Brown at right tackle. Now, Blake Fisher's gotten a lot of run throughout this season as the Texans run more 6 offensive line sets than anybody else in the NFL. He's been like their jumbo package guy coming in to help out in pass protection and in run blocking. But I'm interested to see, do they trust Blake Fisher? I think the plan would be, in a perfect world, that after this season, Blake Fisher takes over those right tackle duties and is the starting right tackle on the opposite side of Aireontae Ersery. But do they trust? This is a must-win game for the Texans. Do they trust him in this situation, or do they feel more comfortable putting Tytus Howard, who is more naturally a tackle? He likes to play tackle. He got paid to play right tackle. Move to left guard out of necessity. Do they move him back to that right tackle position and then insert somebody else and put the best starting 5 out there, or do they give Blake Fisher a chance? Let me know. Do you think Blake Fisher will start at right tackle? Give me a Y for yes and N for no down below in the comment sections. Or do you think they'll move Tytus Howard back out there and do some offensive line shifting? Because this could be a major factor for this Texans team and this Texans offense that struggled up against the Raiders this past week. It was not a pretty offensive game. And if you listen to the mic'd up from CJ Stroud during that game, even at the end, as they're getting ready to go into the victory formation, kneel it out, he literally says to the offensive line, hey, great job getting the W, need to be better. Which I could appreciate from our quarterback. We'll get to more injury news that we also have on the Charger side, which they have some injuries as well to their side of the football as well. But before we get going into all of the other injury news, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. I'm sitting here on Christmas Day, also Merry Christmas to everybody out there. And, I'm watching basketball. I'm watching football. It's all going on. And the fun of Prize Picks is here for you. It's super simple. Looking on my phone right now, all you got to do is go more or less on at least 2 player stats. And the fun thing is you can actually mix and match with basketball and football. It doesn't have to be just a football lineup. It doesn't have to be just a basketball lineup. Hockey, if you like that. I'm looking, they have, the game coming up. Cooper Flag up against the Mavs up against the Warriors, 20 points. You can go more or less on that. I know the Rockets also play. Let me check out their projections. Let's see. Kevin Durant is at 26 points. Not too shabby. Where else do we have? I always like to go the points, rebounds, and assists for Şengün. It's at 35.5, so I don't hate that. Prime time basketball right there. Maybe watch some basketball, maybe watch some Stranger Things later on tonight. But I also love, Prize Picks. It's super straightforward. I don't have to worry about calculating my payouts. Super simple, whether it's a 3x or up to 2000x, makes it super simple to understand how much you can win. Go download the Prize Picks app, use code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Code CLNS, $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'll put that information down in the comments and description of today's show. All right, let's look at the Chargers now, where they did rule out a couple players as well. Wide receiver Darius Davis ruled out. Jamari Sailor, one of their offensive tackles, who just a couple weeks ago up against the Raiders got 100% of those tackle snaps. We already know the Chargers, they've been decimated at offensive line all year, and they lost another one coming into this game in Jamari Sailor, who, if he's not able to go, two options for the Chargers at left tackle. We talked about the Chargers offensive line. They're two All-Pro, Pro Bowl style tackles. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, both out for the year. Jamari Sailor got a lot of snaps for them, but since he's not able to go, that means it'll be either Austin Deculus, yes, former Texans legend Austin Deculus, or the Chargers also traded for Saints offensive lineman Trevor Penning, who has gotten some run as well. Mekhi Becton was ruled as questionable, the guard, so they might need Trevor Penning to step in at that position as well. But, Jamari Sailor being out does cause a shift on this Chargers offensive line, where, also you see Justin Herbert, he's on here as well. Now it's, he's on the injury report for his left throwing hand. He injured that up against the Raiders a couple weeks ago, but, didn't look too bad this past week up against the Cowboys. But, it's significant because, remember, Justin Herbert was lights out last year. And then first round in the playoffs up against the Texans, he threw more interceptions than he had the entire year. And that pressure was getting after him. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, they were getting after him. And this is going to be a big, big turn of events if, they have to do another offensive line shuffle and the Texans are able to get home with 4 or 5 rushers up against the Chargers. This could be huge. Other guys on their injury report listed as questionable, Taylor Tart, also former Texans legend, the big defensive tackle. And then Kamani Vidal, the running back, he was dealing with a neck injury, did not practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday was limited. Now, it is also to be noted, the Chargers did put this out, and they said the team did not practice on Christmas Day, so everything was just, a estimate of what would happen. But, still worth noting some of the guys that were out for this Chargers team. And it was going to be interesting on Saturday to see how they play up against the Houston Texans, how the Texans show up. I'm expecting a dogfight. I'm expecting the Texans and Chargers both to be going at it on Saturday. It's a standalone game, 3 o'clock. Like I said, I'll be live for it. So I'm pretty pumped. And Aireontae Ersery being in the lineup, this is great news for this Texans team. And CJ Stroud is probably very happy to have his left tackle in front of him for this game, where they're playing a pretty good pass rush. The Chargers, they are able to send it. Defensive coordinator Jesse Minter does a really good job. They have Tuli Puloto, the edge rusher, who has 13 sacks this year, is doing fantastic. And then they have Khalil Mack on the other side. So this Chargers team is no joke, and going to be a very interesting game. Very interesting game. All right, that's all I have for you. Just wanted to give you a quick update here on Christmas, as we got some very interesting news. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you made it to the end of the video, make sure to drop those H's so I know who the real ones are down below. And I hope to see y'all on Saturday for Texans, Chargers. Our watch party going to be going off.